I returned a scarf I found on a cafe table. Navy cashmere, still warm, smelling faintly of cedar and something darker, gunpowder maybe, or just expensive cologne that costs more than my rent. I didn't think twice. That's who I am. Laura Chen, the girl who returns things, who apologizes when strangers bump into her, who believes the world runs on small kindnesses. He called me 3 hours later. His voice was gravel and silk. "You gave back something that was never yours to keep," he said. I laughed nervously. That's literally what returning means. The silence that followed made my skin prickle. No, Laura, you stepped into my world. And in my world, debts get paid. Always. That's when I learned his name, Vincent DeLuca, and that's when my ordinary life ended. You will feel so many emotions in this mysterious love story I'm about to tell. Please support us by clicking subscribe to the channel. Vincent appears at the coffee shop the next morning, not to thank me, but to watch. He sits 3 tables away in a charcoal suit that probably costs what I make in 6 months. Never ordering, just observing with eyes that catalog every nervous gesture I make. I feel his gaze like a physical weight, tracking the way I bite my lower lip when I'm concentrating, how I tuck my hair behind my ear when I'm uncomfortable. The barista knows my order by heart, vanilla latte, extra foam. But today my hands shake so badly I nearly drop it. When I finally gather the courage to approach him, he doesn't stand, doesn't even shift in his seat. "You have a tell," he says, his voice low enough that I have to lean in to hear. "You touch your collarbone when you lie." I wasn't lying. Was I? My hand drops immediately from my throat, and his mouth curves, not quite a smile, more like satisfaction at being proven right. "See?" he says. "You're more honest than you think." The conversation shifts. He asks about my work. I'm a junior copywriter at a marketing firm, the kind of job where you disappear into beige cubicles and dream of someday having your name on something that matters. He listens like I'm describing the structure of the universe, not drafting email campaigns for organic juice cleanses. "You're wasting your time there," he says, not as an insult but as fact. "You write like someone who has something to say but no one to say it to." I don't know how to respond to that. Don't know how he could possibly know that I fill notebooks late at night with stories I'll never show anyone, fragments of a life I'm too afraid to claim. He stands then, finally, and the movement is so controlled it's almost predatory. He's tall. I have to tilt my head back to meet his eyes, which are a strange shade of gray-green, like the ocean before a storm. "I have a proposal," he says, pulling a business card from his inner pocket. The cardstock is heavy, expensive, just his name and a phone number, no title, no company. "You're good with words. I need someone who can tell stories that matter. Think about it." I take the card because refusing seems dangerous, though I can't articulate why. My fingers brush his, and the contact sends electricity up my arm. He notices. Of course he notices. "One more thing," he says as I turn to leave. "The neighborhood's changing. A woman walking alone at night sends the wrong message. I'm arranging a car service for you." I spin back. "You can't just, that's not, I don't need, I wasn't asking, Laura." His voice drops, becomes something else entirely. Not threatening, exactly, but absolute. "People are watching you now, because of me. Because you did something kind in a world that punishes kindness. So yes, you'll have a driver, you'll have protection, and you'll accept it, because the alternative is worse than your pride." I want to argue. Want to throw his card back in his face and storm out like I'm the protagonist in one of those stories I write at 3 in the morning, the ones where the girl always has the perfect comeback. But my legs won't move. Because underneath the anger and the fear and the sheer audacity of this man reorganizing my life, like he has the right, there's something else. Something that sounds suspiciously like relief. That night, I find a black envelope under my apartment door. No postage, no return address. Inside, a photo of me from that morning, taken through the coffee shop window. The angle suggests it was taken from across the street, from a parked car maybe, or a doorway. I'm laughing at something the barista said, completely unaware I'm being documented. Underneath the photo, in precise handwriting that looks like it was formed by someone educated in another era, "He doesn't own you yet." My apartment suddenly feels too small, the walls too thin. I've lived here for 2 years in blessed anonymity, just another face in a city of 8 million. Now someone knows where I live. Someone knows I spoke to Vincent DeLuca. Someone is sending me messages designed to terrify. My phone rings. I know who it is before I answer. You got it, Vincent says. Not a question. Who are they? My voice sounds steadier than I feel. Someone who thinks they can use you to get to me. They're wrong. There's movement on his end, the sound of a car door closing, an engine starting. I'm outside. Don't pack a bag, don't turn off lights. Just walk out your front door like you're going to check your mail. Vincent, from now on, no one touches you. The line goes dead. Vincent's voice on my phone, low and certain. From now on, no one touches you. The driver appears Monday morning like he's always been part of my routine. Marcus, that's all he offers when I ask his name, is a wall of a man with kind eyes and an earpiece that occasionally crackles with voices I'm not meant to hear. He knows my work schedule better than I do, has the car idling outside my building at exactly 7:42, which is apparently when I leave every morning, though I've never actually timed it. Mr. DeLuca thought you'd appreciate consistency, Marcus says when I ask how he knows. I don't ask anything else. Vincent calls during my lunch break. I'm eating a sad desk salad when his name lights up my phone. I'd saved his number after that first night. Told myself it was just practical. You can't just assign me a babysitter, I say, instead of hello. Driver, he corrects, and bodyguard. Marcus is former Secret Service. He's saved 3 lives. You're welcome. I didn't ask for this. You didn't have to. There's noise in the background. Voices, the clink of glasses. He's at lunch somewhere expensive, somewhere that doesn't serve salad in plastic containers. How's the job hunt going? I nearly dropped my phone. I haven't told anyone I'm looking. You updated your LinkedIn profile last week. Junior copywriter to just copywriter. Small change, big tell. You're preparing to move. He pauses. I meant what I said. I have work for you. Better work. Work that matters. I want to say no. Want to tell him that I don't need rescuing. That I'm fine in my beige cubicle writing about juice cleanses and sustainable fashion brands that aren't actually sustainable. But the truth is I'm drowning here. Drowning in the ordinariness of it all, in a life that feels like waiting, though I don't know what I'm waiting for. I'll think about it, I say, and hang up before he can hear the lie in my voice. Vincent is waiting at my building when Marcus drops me off that evening. He's leaning against a Blacktown car that probably costs more than my entire apartment building. Looking like he stepped out of a film where the anti-hero gets the girl despite being completely wrong for her. You hung up on me, he says. You were being presumptuous. I was being efficient. He pushes off the car, and I notice for the first time that he looks tired. Not physically. His suit is still immaculate. His hair still perfectly styled. But there's something in his eyes. Something that reminds me that dangerous men are still just men. Walk with me. We walk 3 blocks in silence before he speaks again. Someone spray-painted your car last night. Want to see the photos? Or do you want to keep pretending you're invisible? My stomach drops. My car, a 15-year-old Honda Civic that barely runs, is parked in the lot behind my building. I'd noticed the tarp over it this morning but assumed the building was doing repairs. What did they write? He pulls out his phone. Shows me. The words are in red, dripping like blood. DeLuca's whore. My hands start shaking again. We're not. I know. His voice is gentler now. But they don't care about truth, Laura. They care about leverage. They think you matter to me, and that makes you a target. So what do? I hate how small my voice sounds. You let me protect you. You let Marcus drive you. You move into the apartment I have prepared for you in a building with actual security. You stop fighting me on this. And then what? I just live in your shadow. Become the thing they already think I am. He stops walking. Turns to face me fully. We're standing under a streetlight, the city moving around us like we're a stone in a river. You become someone who survives, he says. And then, when this is over, you become whoever you want to be. I'm not trying to own you, Laura. I'm trying to keep you alive. I think about the photo, about the spray paint, about the way my hands haven't stopped shaking since that first phone call. What if I can't pay you back for all this? You already did. You returned something that was never yours. That kind of integrity is rare, worth protecting. That night, I let Marcus drive me to the new apartment. I tell myself it's temporary. I tell myself I'm in control. I'm still telling myself these things when my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Pretty girl, wrong family. Tell Vincent we're even now. I show Vincent. His jaw tightens, and I watch him become someone else entirely. Someone cold, someone calculating, someone who makes decisions measured in consequences I can't begin to imagine. You were chosen as a message, he says quietly. A text from an unknown number. Pretty girl, wrong family. Tell Vincent we're even now. I show him. His jaw tightens. You were chosen as a message. Vincent takes me to a warehouse by the harbor at midnight. I should run. Every self-preservation instinct I have is screaming at me to call the police, call my parents, call anyone except follow this man into a building where ships unload cargo that probably doesn't clear customs. But I don't run. I think maybe I'm too tired of running. Or maybe I've already fallen too far into whatever this is to find my way back to the surface. Inside, the warehouse has been transformed. What should be concrete and rust is polished wood and leather furniture, expensive art on walls that still smell faintly of salt and machine oil. Men in suits that cost more than cars stand in clusters, speaking in rapid Italian that I can't follow but understand in the way you understand music, by rhythm, by tone, by the spaces between words. They stop talking when we enter. All of them. The silence is immediate and absolute. One of them, silver-haired, smiling like a shark, approaches. Vincent, he says. Then his eyes slide to me. And this must be the famous Laura. Vincent's latest curiosity. The way he says curiosity makes my skin crawl. Vincent's hand finds the small of my back. Proprietary, possessive. And I understand this is a performance. For them, not for me. She's off limits, Vincent says quietly. The room goes silent again, but this silence is different. This silence is danger. Completely off limits. If anyone here has questions about that, ask them now. No one asks. The silver-haired man, Antonio, I'll learn later. Vincent's underboss, nods once. The room exhales. Conversations resume. And I stand there, a civilian among wolves, understanding with perfect clarity that protection isn't a gift. It's a claim. It's Vincent telling everyone in this room that I belong to him. And anyone who touches me answers to him. It should terrify me. Maybe it does. But there's something else underneath the fear. Something that feels suspiciously like safety. Vincent shows me his world that night. The legitimate businesses, restaurants, construction companies, waste management, that fund the illegitimate ones. The offshore accounts, the judges on payroll, the complex web of favors and debts and carefully maintained relationships that keep an entire organization running. He explains it like he's teaching me a language, patient and thorough, and I realize he's not trying to impress me. He's trying to help me understand what I've stepped into. I don't hurt innocent people, he tells me over whiskey in his penthouse office. We're 40 floors up, the city glittering below us like scattered diamonds, and I wonder if this is what God feels like, looking down on all these lives, all these choices. But I'm not innocent, Laura, and neither is anyone close to me. The world I live in, it doesn't forgive weakness. It doesn't reward kindness. It punishes anyone who tries to be better. Then why try? I ask. He looks at me for a long moment, and I see past the expensive suit and the calculated coldness to the boy he must have been once, before the world taught him that survival means becoming someone else. Because my sister tried, he says finally. Sophia. She was everything I'm not. Good. Genuinely good. She volunteered at homeless shelters, taught English to immigrants, believed that if you put enough light into the world, eventually the darkness has to retreat. What happened to her? Someone used her as leverage. His voice doesn't change, stays perfectly level, but his knuckles go white around his glass. They took her because they knew I'd do anything to get her back, and I did. I gave them everything they wanted. But they killed her anyway. Because mercy is weakness in this world, because Sophia's mistake was believing people are fundamentally good. I want to leave. Want to run back to my safe, ordinary life where the worst thing that happens is a passive-aggressive email from my boss. But I also want to stay. Want to reach across this massive desk and touch his hand, tell him that his sister was right, that there's still light worth fighting for. I hate that I can't tell the difference anymore between what I want and what I should want. Why are you telling me this? I ask. Because you need to know who I am, what I am. before this goes any further. He refills his glass. And because you remind me of her, the way you returned that scarf, the way you apologized when I called, like somehow you'd done something wrong by being kind. The world doesn't deserve people like you, Laura. And people like you don't survive people like me. Then let me go, I whisper. I can't. He looks at me, and I see everything he's not saying. Not anymore. He opens a drawer and slides a photograph across the desk. It's me, age 19, standing outside an apartment I spent 6 months trying to forget exists. Danny's apartment. I'm thinner in the photo, wearing a scarf to cover bruises I told everyone came from being clumsy. Someone's been watching you for years, Vincent says. Not me, them. He opens a drawer and slides a photograph across the desk. It's me, age 19, standing outside Danny's apartment. Someone's been watching you for years. Not me, them. I have 3 rules, Vincent says. We're in his car. Rain hammering the windows so hard the city beyond becomes abstract. Just lights and shadows, and the blur of 8 million lives we'll never touch. His driver is up front, separated from us by tinted glass and the pretense of privacy. Vincent's jacket is draped over my shoulders because I'm shaking, though I can't tell if it's from cold or fear or the photograph that's still burning in my mind. 1. You tell me everywhere you go. 2. You don't lie to me. 3. You don't protect people who don't deserve it. I stare at him. At this man who's reorganized my entire life in less than a week, who speaks about protection like it's oxygen and danger like it's weather, inevitable, manageable, just something to dress for. I have 1 rule, I say, surprised by the steadiness in my own voice. You don't get to rewrite my life. I'm not a character in one of your stories, Vincent. I'm not some broken thing you get to fix because your sister... I stop. Too far. I've gone too far. But he doesn't react with anger. Instead, he laughs, a short, bitter sound. You think I'm trying to save you because of Sophia? He turns to look at me fully, and in the darkness of the car, with the rain creating a cocoon around us, he looks younger. Looks like someone I might have met in normal circumstances, at a normal party, living a normal life. I'm trying to save you because I'm selfish, Laura. Because for the first time in 5 years, someone looked at me and didn't see a monster. You saw someone who lost a scarf. Someone human and I... He stops, runs a hand through his hair, disrupting its perfect styling. I don't want to lose that. Lose you seeing me like that. The honesty disarms me more than any threat could. I think about rules and control and all the ways men have tried to manage me into shapes that fit their needs. But Vincent isn't doing that. Not exactly. He's asking me to survive in a world I don't understand, using rules I didn't write. And maybe that's not about control. Maybe that's about translation. Tell me about her, I say quietly. About Sophia. Really, tell me. So he does. He tells me about a girl who wore mismatched socks on purpose, who laughed too loud in restaurants, who cried during commercials featuring rescue dogs. He tells me about teaching her to drive and how she failed her test 3 times because she kept stopping to let pedestrians cross even when they didn't have the right of way. He tells me about the morning he found out she was dead, how the sun was too bright, how the coffee smelled wrong, how the world kept moving when his world had ended. She made me promise something, he says. Right before, at the end, she made me promise I wouldn't let what happened to her turn me into someone she couldn't recognize, that I'd remember how to be human. He looks at his hands like they belong to someone else. I've broken a lot of promises, Laura, but not that one. Not yet. We sit in silence. The rain a percussion against metal and glass. Then I do something I can't explain. Something that breaks every self-preservation rule I've ever learned. I reach across the seat and take his hand. His fingers close around mine, gentle, like he's afraid I might break, or like he's afraid this moment might break. I'm scared. I admit. Of them. Of this. Of you. Good, he says. Fear keeps you careful. But Laura, you don't have to be scared alone. That night, in the guest room of his penthouse, I sleep without checking the locks, without pushing furniture against the door, without keeping my phone clutched in my hand in case I need to call 911. I sleep 8 hours straight, and when I wake up, sunlight is streaming through windows that overlook the entire city, and there's coffee waiting in the kitchen, made exactly how I like it, which means Vincent watched me make it once and remembered. I hate that this feels like intimacy. Hate that I'm starting to trust him. Hate that I can't remember the last time I slept this well. On the kitchen counter, there's a file. Police reports, hospital records, restraining order applications. All mine, all about Danny, all things I'd tried to bury in the 3 years since I left Portland. But the last page is new. A photograph of Danny, recent, taken outside a restaurant in Manhattan's financial district. He's wearing a suit, talking to men I don't recognize. Vincent's handwriting on the bottom, "Now you know why they're using you. Danny is in New York." Danny has been in New York for 6 months, and Danny is working for the people who want to destroy Vincent. Morning. I find a file on the counter. Police reports, hospital records, restraining order applications, all mine, all about Danny. The last page is a recent photo of Danny. He's been in New York for 6 months. Vincent's note reads, "Now you know why they're using you." The flashbacks come in fragments, the way trauma always does. Not in neat narrative order, but in sensations and moments that ambush you when you're brushing your teeth or waiting for the subway. Danny's hands around my throat. The wallpaper in his apartment, yellow flowers, peeling at the corners. The neighbors who heard me screaming and did nothing, or maybe convinced themselves it was something else, because getting involved is dangerous and minding your business is survival. The detective who took my statement and suggested, with his eyes if not his words, that maybe I was asking for it by staying as long as I did. I left Portland with $40, a duffel bag, and a promise to myself that I'd never let anyone make me that small again. I thought distance meant safety. I thought becoming invisible meant protection. I was wrong on both counts. Vincent sits across from me in his home office while I tell him everything. Or at least everything I can force past the tightness in my throat. He doesn't interrupt, doesn't offer platitudes or advice, just listens with a stillness that makes me understand he's heard worse, seen worse, probably done worse. When I finally stop talking, when there are no more words left, he gets up and pours me water. Not wine, not whiskey. Water. Like he knows I need to feel clear, need to feel present. Danny works for the Costas now, he says finally, setting the glass in front of me. Marcus did some digging. Daniel Fitzgerald, that's his full name, right? I nod. He's their inside man. Started small. Collections, enforcement, the usual entry-level positions for men who like hurting people and need someone to pay them for it. But he got promoted about 8 months ago. Now he's doing intelligence gathering, finding weak points in organizations, finding people who can be leveraged. He found me. It's not a question. He told them about you, about us, about that coffee shop conversation and the scarf, and the Costas. They've been looking for leverage over me for years. You handed them a gift. He pauses. Which means Danny did too. Except he didn't know one thing. What? That I don't abandon people. Vincent leans back in his chair, and I see the calculation in his eyes. The Costas think you're disposable, think I'll cut you loose to save myself. They don't understand that would make me exactly what they are. What I've spent 5 years trying not to become. I should feel grateful, should feel protected. Instead, I feel angry, furious, actually, at Danny for reaching across time and distance to ruin me again, at Vincent for making me matter to him when I'd gotten so good at not mattering, at myself for being stupid enough to think returning a scarf wouldn't have consequences. I need to warn Maya, I say suddenly. Maya, my roommate. The closest thing I have to a friend in this city. She works 2 jobs and sends money home to her family in Chicago and makes me laugh when everything feels heavy. If they know about me, they might... I'll send someone. No, I stand up. I'll tell her. She needs to hear it from me. Vincent looks like he wants to argue, but something in my face stops him. Take Marcus, he says finally. Please, I do. Marcus drives me to the apartment I barely live in anymore. Waits in the car while I go upstairs. Maya is home, curled up on our terrible thrift store couch watching reality TV. She takes one look at me and mutes the television. What's wrong? I tell her. Not everything, not about Danny, not about the photograph, but enough. Enough that she understands I'm involved in something dangerous, that people might come asking questions, that she needs to be careful. Stay at Ryan's for a while, I say. Ryan is her boyfriend, lives in Brooklyn, has a doorman and security cameras. Just until this blows over. But Maya doesn't go to Ryan's. Instead, she goes to the police. mentions Vincent's name, says I'm in danger, that I'm being held against my will or manipulated or coerced. She uses all these words that sound right, that sound like concern, that sound like friendship, and maybe they are. Maybe she's trying to save me from something she doesn't understand. 2 hours later, Vincent's lawyer is at the precinct. 2 hours after that, Maya is giving me that look, the one I've seen before, on faces in Portland, on faces of people who decided I was too complicated, too damaged, too much work. The look that says I've become someone she doesn't recognize, someone dangerous to know. I was trying to help you, she says. I know, I tell her, and I do know. That's what makes it worse. My phone buzzes as Marcus drives me back to Vincent's. A video message, no number, sent through some app designed to hide the sender. The video is short, just 15 seconds of Maya walking to her car, taken from across the street. The timestamp says it's from 5 minutes ago. The camera follows her, steady and patient, until she gets in and drives away. Beneath the video, a message. Tell Vincent we have something he values, his reputation. My phone buzzes. A video message. Maya, walking to her car. The timestamp is from 5 minutes ago. The camera follows her. Beneath it. Tell Vincent we have something he values, his reputation. Vincent moves with surgical precision. I watch him make phone calls in 3 different languages. Watch him transform from the man who made me coffee to something else entirely. A commander, a strategist, someone who orchestrates the downfall of enemies the way other people plan dinner parties. The Costa's operation begins to unravel in 48 hours. Accounts frozen through banks that suddenly discover irregularities. Shipments intercepted by customs officials who've been looking the other way for years, but suddenly develop consciences. Witnesses who've been silent for decades suddenly become cooperative, suddenly remember things they swore they'd forgotten. I watch it happen on the news. Federal raids at 3 locations simultaneously. Warehouses in New Jersey, a restaurant in Little Italy, a luxury apartment building in Soho. Men in handcuffs, being walked past cameras with jackets over their faces. Reporters speaking in urgent tones about major breakthrough and organized crime and ongoing investigation. The anchor mentions a guard at one of the warehouses. A 63-year-old man named Carlos Rodriguez who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Deceased. They show his photo. Kind eyes, gray hair, someone's father or grandfather or uncle. Vincent pours coffee like we're discussing weather. You did this, I whisper. My voice sounds distant, like it's coming from underwater. I protected what's mine. He doesn't look at the television, doesn't acknowledge the photo of Carlos Rodriguez that's still on screen. The Costas made a choice when they threatened you, when they threatened Maya. They knew the consequences. That man, Carlos, he wasn't part of this. He was just collateral. Vincent finally turns to look at me, and his eyes are empty of everything except cold calculation. You want to live in a world where there are no consequences, Laura? Where men like the Costas can hurt whoever they want and good people just, what? Hope really hard that it stops? Hope that being nice is enough. I feel sick. Not because Vincent is ruthless. I knew that. Have known that since the moment he told me about Sophia. But because part of me is relieved. Because I slept safely while Carlos Rodriguez was dying. Because my safety has a price, and someone else paid it. I didn't ask for this, I say. You didn't have to. He sets down his coffee cup with precise gentleness, the kind of control that makes me understand just how much rage he's containing. The moment you gave me back that scarf, you became part of my world. You don't get to cherry-pick the protection without accepting the methods. That's not how survival works. Maya calls me that afternoon. She's apologetic, scared, says she didn't mean for things to escalate the way they did, but her voice carries something else too. Suspicion, or maybe fear of me. The police asked me about Vincent, she says. About you, about whether you're there voluntarily. I told them you were, but Laura, are you, really? Yes, I say, and it's true. I could leave. Vincent has made that clear. But where would I go? Back to my apartment where someone photographed me through the window. Back to my beige cubicle and juice cleanses and the slow suffocation of ordinary life. I'm exactly where I choose to be. The FBI shows up at my work 2 days later. I'm in the middle of a meeting about brand awareness for a company that makes sustainable athletic wear when my boss's assistant interrupts, says there are agents who need to speak with me. The word agents travels through the office like electricity. Everyone stops pretending to work and just stares as I walk out. Agent Sarah Mitchell is 40-something, sharp-eyed, wearing a blazer that's seen better days. She shows me her badge like I might not believe she's real. "We need to ask you some questions about Vincent DeLuca," she says, and we go to a conference room that suddenly feels too small. They have evidence, doctored, clearly fabricated, but sophisticated enough to make someone who doesn't know Vincent believe it's real. Documents suggesting he ordered the hit on Carlos Rodriguez, phone records that have been altered, financial transactions that don't exist. Only one person can corroborate his whereabouts that night, Agent Mitchell says, sliding her card across the conference table. "You. He was with me. It's the truth. Vincent hasn't let me out of his sight since the video of Maya. All night? All night. She studies me like I'm evidence too. Something to be cataloged and analyzed. Mr. DeLuca is a dangerous man, Ms. Chen. But so is whoever's framing him. And you're caught in the middle. Help us, and we'll protect you. Real protection, legal protection, not the kind that comes with a body count." I take her card, promise to think about it, but we both know I'm lying. When I get back to Vincent's penthouse, he's standing by the window, knuckles wrapped in bandages that are slowly turning red. "You shouldn't be here," he says without turning around. Behind him, tied to a chair with zip ties, is Antonio, the silver-haired underboss from the warehouse. His face is a mess of blood and bruises. "He's been working with the FBI," Vincent says quietly, "feeding them information, building a case. And now they think you are too." I arrive at Vincent's penthouse with the recording. He's standing by the window, blood on his knuckles. Behind him, the silver-haired man from the warehouse is zip-tied to a chair. "He's been working with the FBI, and now they think you are too." I lie to Vincent. The words come out smooth as silk, practiced as a prayer I've recited 1,000 times. "I need to see Maya," I tell him over breakfast. Eggs Benedict he made himself because even dangerous men have domestic skills that surprise you. "I need to apologize. Try to fix what's broken between us." He studies me over his coffee cup. Those gray-green eyes searching for the tell he taught me I had, the hand moving toward my collarbone when I'm being dishonest. I keep my hands wrapped around my own cup. Steady, certain. Maybe I've learned something from him after all. Maybe survival means becoming someone who can lie to the people who care about you. He nods. Believes me because trust is the only currency we have left. The only thing holding together whatever this is between us. This strange alchemy of protection and possession, care and control. "Take Marcus," he says. Not a command, not quite, but close enough. I agree because refusing would raise suspicions I can't afford. But I don't go to Maya's. Instead, Marcus drops me at a bookstore in Brooklyn, one of those places with creaking floors and the smell of old paper and coffee, where you can disappear into stacks and no one questions why you're there. I slip out the back exit, the one employees use for smoke breaks, and catch a cab to the Lower East Side. Agent Mitchell is already waiting at the diner when I arrive. She's wearing the same tired blazer, drinking coffee that's probably terrible, looking like she hasn't slept in days. Maybe she hasn't. Maybe taking down men like Vincent requires the same kind of obsessive dedication that protecting them does, different sides of the same ruthless coin. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she says as I slide into the booth across from her. Neither was I. She spreads documents across the table like tarot cards reading my future. Transcripts of conversations Antonio recorded over months, maybe years. Photographs of meetings in restaurants where deals were made over osso buco and expensive wine. Financial records proving Vincent's art galleries and construction companies are just beautiful facades covering rot. She shows me evidence of violence I'd suspected but never confirmed. Testimonies from people who crossed him and paid prices I don't want to calculate. "He's dangerous, Laura." Agent Mitchell's voice is gentle, almost maternal, like she's trying to save me from myself. "I know he's been kind to you. I know he makes you feel protected, maybe even cared for. But these men, they don't change. They can't. The violence is too deep, too fundamental to who they are. I think about Vincent's hands, how they can be gentle making coffee, brutal breaking bones, tender touching my face when he thinks I'm not paying attention. How the same hands that promised protection have delivered consequences I witnessed on the evening news. Carlos Rodriguez, his kind eyes, his family mourning someone who was just trying to make a living in a warehouse. Wrong place, wrong time, Collateral damage in a war he didn't even know he was fighting. What do you want from me? I ask. Testimony. Vincent's about to make a move on the Costas. We have intelligence suggesting a major operation within the week. People are going to die, Laura. Maybe dozens. Maybe more. And when it's over, he's either going to prison for the rest of his life, or he's going to be so powerful, so untouchable, that he becomes exactly what we've been trying to stop for a decade. She slides a folder toward me. Help us prevent that. Testify to what you've seen, what you know. We can offer witness protection, new identity, new city, new life. You can finally be free of all of this. Freedom. The word echoes in the space between us, hollow as a bell. I've been chasing freedom since I left Portland with $40 and terror in my throat. Freedom from Danny's hands and voice and the way he made me believe I was nothing. Freedom from being invisible, from being disposable, from being someone who apologizes for existing. But what is freedom when every choice leads back to someone else's war? What is freedom when safety requires choosing between monsters? I need time, I tell Agent Mitchell, and I'm not sure if I'm lying or not. You have 48 hours. After that, Vincent moves and we move and everyone caught in the middle gets crushed. She hands me her card. I already have 3 of them, but I take this one too, like collecting evidence of my own indecision. I know this is hard. I know you feel something for him. Maybe he even feels something for you. But feelings don't change facts, Laura. And the fact is, staying with Vincent DeLuca means becoming complicit in everything he does. Every body, every crime, every choice that breaks someone else's life to preserve his empire. I leave the diner with her evidence burning a hole in my bag, walk for blocks without destination, just movement, just the rhythm of feet on pavement and the city breathing around me, taxis honking, vendors calling, millions of people living their small, ordinary, precious lives. Lives that don't include federal agents or zip-tied underbosses or the weight of impossible decisions. But I'm not walking toward freedom or safety or witness protection. I'm walking toward Danny. It takes 3 phone calls to find him. I use Vincent's name like a weapon, like a key that opens doors I didn't know existed. People who wouldn't give me the time of day suddenly become helpful when they understand I'm connected to Vincent DeLuca. It makes me sick, this borrowed power, this reflected danger, but I use it anyway because sometimes survival means doing things that make you hate yourself. Danny's in a motel in Queens, the Starlight Inn, which has neither stars nor light, just flickering neon and the stench of desperation. Room 14. The FBI gave me a wire before I left the diner, taped to my ribs, cold metal against skin that remembers other kinds of cold metal, Danny's belt buckle, his watch, all the small weapons of ordinary objects. I knock. My heart is hammering, but my hands are steady. Vincent taught me that too. How fear is just information, just your body cataloging danger, and you can acknowledge it without letting it control you. You can walk toward the thing that terrifies you and survive. Danny opens the door wearing that smile. That same smile that used to make me feel chosen, special, worthy of attention before it made me feel worthless, broken, deserving of every moment of pain. He's thinner than I remember, harder around the edges. Like the past 3 years haven't been kind to him either. Good, Laura, he says. Like we're old friends meeting for coffee. Like he didn't teach me that love was just another word for ownership, that intimacy meant surrender, that staying alive required making yourself so small you could disappear. I knew you'd come. I told them you would. Told them you always come back. I should be afraid. Should feel that familiar paralysis crawling up my spine, freezing my voice, stealing my agency. But something's changed. Maybe it's Vincent's influence, his certainty, his refusal to apologize for taking up space. Maybe it's just time, just distance, just 3 years of rebuilding myself into someone who doesn't automatically flinch. Maybe it's rage finally finding its voice. Tell me about the Costas, I say. My voice doesn't shake. Tell me what they promised you. And he does. Because Danny was always arrogant, always believed himself the smartest person in any room, the one pulling strings while everyone else danced. He tells me everything. How he'd been working collections for them, how they promoted him when they realized he had information about me, about Vincent, about leverage they could exploit. He tells me about the deal, feed them intelligence, help them build a case, testify if necessary. In exchange, money, power, connections to move up in their organization. And you, he adds, stepping closer. The room suddenly feels smaller, the walls pressing in. They promised me you. Said if I helped take down DeLuca, you were my bonus. Like a signing incentive, like a reward for good behavior. His hand reaches for my face, the same gesture that used to precede violence or affection. With Danny, there was never any difference. I don't move. Don't flinch. Just let the wire record every word, every casual admission of conspiracy and attempted murder and all the ways men like Danny commodify women like me, treat us like prizes to be won or property to be traded. You really thought I'd come back to you? I ask. After everything? You always came back, he says, confused by my stillness, my lack of fear. No matter how many times you left, you always came back. Because you knew the truth, Laura. You knew you needed me. Needed someone to tell you what to do, how to be, what you were worth. The recording device captures everything. Every confession, every crime. Every reason the FBI needs to shift their attention from Vincent to the people actually orchestrating this war. You're right about one thing, I tell him. I did always come back. Because you'd convinced me I was nothing without you. That I deserved everything you did. That love meant pain, and pain meant love, and survival meant accepting both. I step back, toward the door, toward freedom. But I'm not that person anymore. And you're not getting me back. You're not getting anything except exactly what you deserve. I leave him standing there, confusion becoming understanding, becoming rage on his face. Leave him in that terrible motel room with its flickering neon and stained carpet, and the future closing in on him like walls. My hands don't shake as I drive back to Vincent's. The wire feels lighter now, like evidence weighs less than secrets. I've made my choice. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe Agent Mitchell is right, and I'm choosing one monster over another, trading one kind of captivity for a different cage. But it's my choice. For the first time in my life, not Danny's choice, not Vincent's choice, not the choice someone else made for me while pretending I had agency. My choice. When I arrive at Vincent's penthouse, he's standing by the window overlooking the city. There's blood on his knuckles, fresh blood, bright red against pale skin. Behind him, Antonio is still zip-tied to a chair, but he's not alone anymore. There's an FBI agent I don't recognize slumped next to him, also restrained, also bleeding, both of them looking like men who made catastrophic miscalculations. You shouldn't be here, Vincent says without turning around. His voice is flat, empty of emotion, and I understand I'm seeing him at his most dangerous, not angry, just absolutely certain about what needs to be done. I'm exactly where I need to be, I tell him, and I have something you need to hear. I play the recording. Danny's voice fills the office, casual and cruel, admitting to everything, conspiracy, fabrication of evidence, stalking across state lines, planning to use me as leverage and reward. Vincent listens without moving, his back still to me, his reflection in the window showing nothing. When it ends, the silence is deafening. He talked about you like you were property, Vincent says finally. Like you were something he owned, something he lost and wanted back. I know. And you recorded him, got his confession, gave the FBI everything they need to shift their investigation. He turns now, studies me with those eyes that miss nothing. Why? Because you promised Sophia you wouldn't become someone she couldn't recognize. And I promised myself I wouldn't become someone I couldn't recognize. I set the recorder on his desk. This is me keeping both our promises. Vincent looks at the recorder, then at me, then at the two men bleeding in his office. You just saved my life, he says quietly, and damned your own. The Costas will come for you now. Not as leverage, as revenge. I play the recording for everyone who matters. Agent Mitchell first. I meet her at the same diner, slide the device across the same table, watch her face transform as Danny's voice fills the space between us with confession after confession. She doesn't thank me, just nods once, the acknowledgement of someone who understands that justice is messy, complicated, never as clean as we want it to be. This changes everything, she says. Not completely. Your Vincent still has blood on his hands, still runs an organization that breaks laws I've spent my career enforcing. But this, she taps the recorder. This shifts the focus. The Costas, Danny, the fabricated evidence. We can work with this. He's not my Vincent, I say. But we both know I'm lying. The FBI moves fast. Danny is arrested within 24 hours, not in that motel room but at a restaurant in Midtown, having lunch with Costas associates who scatter like roaches when the agents appear. There's footage on the news, Danny in handcuffs, Danny being read his rights, Danny looking smaller somehow, diminished without the power I'd given him in my nightmares. He goes to prison. Not for what he did to me 3 years ago in Portland. Those charges expired, those bruises faded into nothing. Those screams disappeared into the walls of his apartment where neighbors heard and did nothing. But for conspiracy, wire fraud, attempting to pervert the course of justice. The irony isn't lost on me. He finally faces consequences, just not for the crime that shattered me. Vincent's name clears. Mostly. The manufactured evidence disappears. The federal investigation doesn't end, Agent Mitchell makes that clear, but it shifts, becomes something he can navigate, something his lawyers can manage. Antonio disappears. I don't ask where. Don't want to know if he's in witness protection or at the bottom of the Hudson River or somewhere in between, somewhere in that gray space where justice and revenge blur into something unrecognizable. The dirty FBI agent makes headlines. Turns out he'd been on the Costas' payroll for years, feeding them information, helping them build cases against their rivals. His arrest becomes a scandal, the kind that makes politicians call for investigations and reforms and all the things that sound good but change nothing. Agent Mitchell calls me once after everything settles. I'm disappointed, she says. But I understand. You did what you thought was right. If you ever change your mind about witness protection, about starting over somewhere he can't find you, the offer stands. I thank her. Don't call back. Because the truth is, I don't want to go somewhere Vincent can't find me. I just want to go somewhere I can find myself. Maya moves out of our apartment. Doesn't say goodbye. Just leaves a note and her half of the rent for the remaining months on our lease. The note is kind but distant, like she's writing to a stranger. I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope it's worth what you're giving up. I read it 3 times trying to find accusation or judgment or anger, but there's just sadness. Just the recognition that our paths have diverged so completely we can't even see each other anymore across the distance. Vincent offers me everything. We're in his penthouse, that same space where we've had so many conversations that rewrote the architecture of both our lives. The city sprawls beneath us, infinite and indifferent. 8 million people living and dying and making choices that matter only to themselves. He's made coffee, perfect coffee, exactly how I like it, because he pays attention to details the way some people pay attention to stock prices or sports scores. You can stay, he says. Work for me, legitimate work. Storytelling for the businesses that actually file tax returns. Help me build something that Sophia would recognize, something that isn't just violence and consequences and all the things I've become. He sets a folder on the table between us. Inside, an apartment deed in my name, a building in the West Village with a doorman and security and all the trappings of safety. You can have whatever you want, Laura, whatever you need. A life where you never have to be invisible again, because everyone will know you're under my protection. You'll never have to be afraid again. And God, I want to say yes. Want to let this dangerous, damaged man, who remembers how I take my coffee and notices my tells, protect me from a world that's proven itself cruel and indifferent. Want to accept that maybe love doesn't look like fairy tales? That sometimes salvation comes from imperfect people doing terrible things for complicated reasons that don't fit neatly into categories like good or evil. But I can't, because somewhere between returning a scarf and recording Danny's confession, somewhere between watching the news about Carlos Rodriguez and standing in Vincent's office while he had blood on his knuckles, I changed. Stopped being someone who defined herself by proximity to powerful men, whether that power came in the form of Danny's fists or Vincent's protection. Started being someone who could save herself. I can't be your debt, I tell him. My voice is steady, certain in a way it's never been before. And I can't be your redemption either. I can't be the reason you keep Sophia's promise or the proof that you're still capable of being human. That's too much weight for one person to carry, Vincent. That's not love. That's just another kind of prison. He doesn't argue, just nods like he understood this was coming, maybe understood before I did. What will you do? I don't know. And it's terrifying, this not knowing, exhilarating too. like standing at the edge of something vast and undefined. Maybe I'll write those stories I've been keeping in notebooks, the ones I was too afraid to show anyone because they revealed too much about who I am. Maybe I'll leave New York, start somewhere new where nobody knows about scarves or coffee shops or any of this. Maybe I'll stay and figure out how to build a life that's actually mine, not built in reaction to Danny, not built in the shadow of you, just mine. You'll need money, he says practically. Time. Space to figure things out. I'll manage. Laura. He says my name like a prayer, like a goodbye. Let me do this one thing, not as payment, not as protection, just as acknowledgement. You gave me something when you returned that scarf. You saw me as human when everyone else sees a monster. Let me give you something back, not your freedom. That was always yours. Just, space to claim it. He slides the apartment deed across the table. The address is written in elegant script, a brownstone in the West Village, 3 blocks from Washington Square Park. Lease paid for a year. No surveillance, no protection detail, no obligations. Just an apartment where you can figure out who you are when nobody's watching. I take the deed, take the offering, take what might be the last gift from the last dangerous man I'll ever let into my life. No strings? No strings. You want me out of your life? I'm out. You want to call sometime? My number hasn't changed. You want to pretend this never happened? I'll pretend too. Your choice, Laura. All of it. Finally, completely, your choice. I leave that night. Pack a single bag. I've gotten good at leaving, at carrying my life in small containers. Vincent watches from the window, doesn't follow me to the elevator, doesn't make it harder than it already is. The doorman calls me a car. Not Marcus, just a regular car service, the kind normal people use, the kind where the driver doesn't have an earpiece and a gun and instructions to protect me from threats I can't see. The West Village apartment is beautiful. Hardwood floors and exposed brick and windows that overlook a street lined with trees. It's empty. No furniture, no dishes, no traces of previous lives, just space, just possibility, just room to become whoever I decide to be. I spend the first week sleeping on an air mattress and eating takeout and writing. Actually writing, not just thinking about it or dreaming about it or making excuses for why I can't. I write about a girl who returned something that was never hers and discovered she'd been returning everything her whole life. Her voice, her choices, herself. Until she finally learned how to keep something. 3 months later, I'm sitting in a cafe. Different from the one where this all started, but similar enough to feel like symmetry, like coming full circle. I'm working on a story. A real story. The kind I used to think only other people got to tell. My laptop is covered in stickers I bought from a vendor in Union Square. Quotes about courage and freedom and becoming tourist things, silly things, but they make me smile. My phone buzzes. Vincent's name lights up the screen. I haven't heard from him in weeks. Haven't reached out. Haven't checked if he's okay or in trouble or still thinking about promises made to dead sisters. The text is simple. You gave back something that was never yours, but you kept something that is yourself. I read it 3 times. 4. Try to find manipulation or control or some angle I'm missing, but there's just acknowledgement, just respect, just the recognition that I chose myself and he's letting me. I don't reply. Not immediately, maybe not ever. But I save the message. This proof that once upon a time, a girl returned a scarf and it changed everything. Changed her from someone who apologized for existing into someone who claimed space unapologetically. Changed her from someone who believed love meant sacrifice into someone who understood love means choice. Choosing yourself, choosing truth, choosing freedom even when it's terrifying. Outside the cafe window, the city moves. Millions of people living their small, ordinary, extraordinary lives. I'm one of them now. Not special, not protected, not invisible. Just Laura Chen, writer, survivor, woman who learned the hard way that the only person who can save you is yourself. My phone buzzes again. This time it's not Vincent. It's an email from a literary agent who found my blog. The one I started posting my stories on. The ones I was too afraid to share. She wants to talk. Wants to know if I have more work. Wants to discuss representation and publishing and all these words that sound like dream and future and possibility. I close my laptop, pay for my coffee, walk out into the autumn afternoon where the air tastes like fallen leaves and new beginnings. My footsteps are certain. My life is finally, terrifyingly, beautifully mine, and for the first time in 26 years, I'm not afraid of it. If you made it to the end of this story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from, and click the yellow bell to subscribe to the channel and support us. Keep the adventure going by clicking on the suggested video on your screen.